All right, back to this story now for a moment. We've got some new video that has just come in from Philadelphia. A member of the new Black Panther Party is standing guard outside a polling place, opening doors as the voters come through there to place their votes. Now, Fox News did try to ask him a question about what his role is there. Got only a no comment from this gentleman. You may recall a big story that unfolded. This is the tape back from 2008. The new Black Panther Party members were accused of voter intimidation in Philadelphia back then. One of them was seen standing right there, holding a billy club outside of that polling place. So what does this mean this morning? Joined now by Bill Kristol, editor of the Weekly Standard, and Roy Murdoch, a nationally syndicated columnist with Scripps Howard News Service. Both are Fox News contributors. Good morning, gentlemen. Good to have you both here today.
Good morning.
Roy, let me start with you. What's your take on this? Our reporter there tried to speak to this gentleman, but, is what he's doing allowed under the law?
Well, it's allowed under the law because the Department of Justice under Eric Holder and Barack Obama dropped the charges against one of the people who was very much involved in voter intimidation in 2008 in Philadelphia. These guys were dressed kind of like this gentleman you see here. One of them was holding a billy club. And he said to Bartle Bull, who's a legendary white civil rights lawyer who worked for RFK and was very much involved in the whole civil rights battles, he said, "Cracker, you're about to be ruled by a black man." He referred to white voters as white devils, and then said to two black Republicans who were poll watchers that they would be held to pay, and they call them race traitors. The charges were dropped against one of these people despite a judgment against them before that at the end of the Bush administration. And then beyond that, one of them was told that he could not engage in this kind of behavior within 100 feet of the polls in Philadelphia through the end of November 2012. So presumably if he went to Pittsburgh, he could do the same thing with the billy club, or if he stood 105 feet away from the polls, he could have his billy club and scare people away. So this is all legal because Eric Holder and Barack Obama allowed it.
Interesting. That video is from this morning where he's just opening the door for voters there, and the quotes that Roy was just talking about are from 2008. Bill, what do you think about all this?
Politics can be rough in Philadelphia. I hope that voters aren't intimidated. Honestly, we're having it's a fantastic thing to have this election here in the United States, 130 million people voting. You want the vote to be as clean and as fair as possible, and I think it will be in 98% of the country. But people really aren't supposed to stand within 100 feet. I think it is within 100 yards. I can't remember polling places. They're certainly not supposed to intimidate voters. And one would hope that authorities, local authorities as well as the Federal Justice Department, would prevent that from happening. There's a police force in Philadelphia, there's a mayor in Philadelphia, and they really should be guaranteeing their own citizens the right to cast a free and unintimidated vote.
We're going to stay on that story throughout the day and see what our reporters can bring back to us from that location and really across the country in terms of watching what's going on with the vote today. I do want to ask you, Roy, you wrote an interesting column about Hurricane Sandy and about President Obama's reaction to it. And I'm struck by it. I live in the area where people are completely displaced in terms of where they're supposed to go to vote. A lot of the polling places aren't open. People are voting by email. I filled out an email ballot yesterday because I was going to, be in the city all through the day, and it just raised a lot of questions about how all of this is going to be tallied.
I think there are a lot of technical questions. God forbid somebody might be able to break into a server and vote multiple times by email. I think if President Obama had stayed in Washington, directed the response to the hurricane, he'd probably be on his way to re-election. He'd look presidential. He'd look focused. He got back on the campaign trail, started talking about encouraging his people to vote for revenge. And I think he just raised a lot more questions that people have, and the halo that he was able to put over his head last week with Governor Christie, I think, just shattered. And so I think he's really hurt himself by not focusing on this and trying to bring relief to people who are still suffering.
He got a lot of credit for how he handled it, and we're looking at these pictures. A lot of people still suffering out there, Bill.
Yeah, no, a Democrat said to me on Thursday when President Obama went back to the campaign trail after spending basically a day touring New Jersey with Governor Christie, it was what we thought a mistake that could cost President Obama the election in such a close election, that he looked so much more presidential when he was trying to manage the relief efforts. They have turned a little sour. Maybe that would have happened anyway. It's a very tough thing to handle a storm of this magnitude. But I don't think he gets the credit people thought he might get 4 or 5 days ago. I don't think a huge number of voters are going to be influenced by that anyway, but obviously a tiny number can make a difference.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bill Kristol, good to see you both.